So you had some chance over your lunch break to start looking at the health and fitness module. And so you should kind of see the layout that is used within the topic. So we just wanted to highlight a few things. So every topic starts with a table of contents, and all these lessons are hyperlinked in the PDF. So if you click on it, it jumps you down to that lesson instead of having to scroll through them. After you get through all that front manner, there is a unit overview of the lessons. So once again, each of the lessons is hyperlinked within the PDF document. A description of what each of the lessons are. A suggested number of days for each lesson, and so this is going to vary from class to class, so this is where it's really important to know your students and whether or not you need to do some pre-work with them, whether or not an extension is appropriate with your group, faster, slower, that sort of thing. And then especially with distance learning now, these days were based off of a 50-minute class period, so as you do this virtually, this could look slightly different for your class. The content standards that are called out in each lesson, this is not necessarily an exhaustive list, and just because we list it does not mean that all parts of that standard are covered, just like there are probably parts of some other standards that live within each of these lessons. They just weren't as predominant, so we didn't call them out. And then same thing goes with the practice standards. Depending on how you structure each of the lessons, again, because it's going to look a little bit different virtually, some of these practice standards could shift. Some of them, you might pull in some more of them. And so just keep that in mind as you're looking for those. And then we also worked with other content area specialists here at OSPI and had them look through some of these topics and pull out standards that live within their content area. So you can easily tell because they are bold, they are italicized and in a different color. They're not going to be present in all lessons, but when they are there, we did try to make the effort to call those out. So all of our lessons are formatted in a similar manner. Again, that description is at the top. Again, the suggested number of days, which could vary. Those content standards, the practice standards, any of the materials that could be needed for this lesson. Again, that materials list is if you were doing this in class. So that materials list, again, might need to be adjusted as you adapt to virtual learning. And then every lesson starts with a launch, and these launches are designed to orient students towards the lesson. Sometimes they are around the context of the lesson itself, and then other times they are geared more towards the math that students will be seeing within the lesson. And most often, these are mathematically productive instructional routines. We call them empires for short. So if we refer to empires, we're talking about these routines. So following our launch is our lesson, and sometimes there will be more than one activity within a lesson. All of our materials are hyperlinked either to a web source or to a printables page within the PDF. And whether or not we link externally or into a PDF really depends on the copyright of the materials. I know most teachers have said they would much rather have copies within the teacher guide, but unfortunately some copyright doesn't allow us to do that, which is why we have to link to it externally. Teacher notes are included when appropriate for the activities, and those are always italicized. Yes, a question in the chat is how long is one day? We based off of a 50-minute class period. And then we also have icons that tell you what the activity is, whether it's a document, a website, or a video. So as I was saying before, we always link to the student worksheets. That link could take you to that external site to view the student worksheet, or it could be embedded within the PDF. Just a note, when we link externally, sometimes we were forced to link to a fairly large document. When that happens, we really tried to reference page numbers so that you could easily find those student worksheets. But again, because of copyrights, we just weren't always able to link directly to those student pages. And we know that that can be kind of cumbersome, but we're doing the best we can to operate within copyright laws. So then new for this year, we have, when again possible, we have actually embedded images of the student worksheets into the teacher materials. In our first version of this course last year, we just linked to all of the worksheets, and a lot of the teacher feedback was they would really like to see it embedded within the lesson so that they don't have to constantly be flipping pages. So when possible, we tried to honor that request from teachers. Which is another reason why when we would love to have feedback from you guys, because we are really working to constantly make this course what you guys need it to be for both yourselves and your students. So we are always welcome to feedback about anything within this course. And then every lesson has a summary enclosure. This could be in the form of an exit ticket. It could be a class discussion and reflection, and sometimes it is also going to be pre-work for the next day's lesson. So that's always important to preview ahead of time.